on today for this live walkthrough of this product demo for interactive webinars. Quick, everybody that's joining, we'll give everyone a little bit of time to hop on, but share where you are from. I'm not sure where 408 or you mean 480 for Raja. I'm from sunny San Diego, and we have another California.
No, Nicholas said he's from San Jose, the 408.
Oh, gotcha. Well,
Yeah.
Phoenix 480, I was kind of like just connecting dots that didn't need to be connected.
Yeah.
Yes, San Jose.
There you go.
I'm originally from the Bay, so that's why when you said no one refers to San Jose, they always refer to it as the 408. But
the Bay Area. But yeah, we'll probably kick things off in about 2 or 3 minutes. In the meantime, if you haven't already, anyone that's joining, we would love to know and kind of get a feel for the room of the current webinar provider. So right now we have Zoom webinars, On24, GoToWebinar, WebEx, Other, and None. So if there's, a situation where it might not fit into any of those or other, we can have the None option, but feel free to fill that out. So far, a lot of Zoom folks in the call, which I think Zoom is kind of limited from a feature set, maybe good for meetings, but for webinars, not so much. Thanks so much for joining, Elantra, Andy, Chloe, Janelle, Jen, Stacy, Vera, Victoria, Emily. My wife and I have been kicking around different places that we'd like to go in the U.S., and I think one of the things that kind of comes up quite often is Utah. So you have to give me the rundown on how Utah is a little bit later.
Come out. It's great. Come in the winter to ski or come right now and hike some of the mountains out here.
Yeah, we're big into hiking. We were just in Toronto, which was fun, and then we came to Phoenix for a little bit for like a little family vacation. Phoenix is way hotter than I remember. I don't think you could talk me back into moving there, but
Phoenix is amazing. 108 degrees will cleanse everything from your blood.
I don't know how COVID even survived there or something, but all right.
Bugs barely survive here.
They just burst into flames. That's not even a joke. They really do. They literally combust. Well, as people are coming in, we'll go ahead and get started and at least do introductions to everybody that's on the call. So thanks again for joining for this product demo. Today we're going to be covering Marketo Engage interactive webinars. And I think just to kind of level set, it's always good to know who's presenting the information because it can be valuable information, but knowing the source is definitely important as well. Here's kind of the highlight agenda. We'll be going over intros to everybody that's presenting. We'll talk about interactive webinar from a features, benefits, and use case standpoint. And then we'll do our live interactive webinar demo, just kind of walking through how to use the actual product, and then a Q&A session and wrap up. So if you have questions, you're going to notice on the next couple of screens that we have that there'll be an option to ask questions and to have a Q&A. So from that standpoint, feel free to ask any questions that come up along the way, and we'll be able to get to them at the very end. So who are your hosts? If you are on this, chances are you know GNW Consulting, but to kind of give you a high-level overview, my name is Akande. I'm VP of Operations. I have 7 years in Marketo Engage, 3-time Marketo Certified Expert, and Adobe Certified Master. If that's important, just means I know the tool really, really well. And also we have Raja. I'll let him introduce himself, but you'll notice that I called out that he is a Marketo architect, which means he had to endure a trial by fire. And Raja, you can speak to that a little bit, but also another great person from a resource standpoint to have on today's presentation.
Hey, everybody. I'm just probably going to be in the background here. Akande and the Adobe team really did a lot of the heavy lifting. Give you a background on myself. I've been an architect and a Marketo user since about 2012, I want to say, like right before even programs were introduced into Marketo. The trial by fire from an architect perspective, the master's and architect exam was a little bit different back in the day. You practically had to do a dissertation and get like 3 referrals in order to get it. So I've been using Marketo for a while. GNW Consulting has been part of the Adobe partner program and well versed in everything and all things at Adobe. So
awesome. And then from our presenter side, we have Joe Stewart and Nicholas and Ali. I'll let you guys introduce yourselves as well.
Hey everyone. Yeah, I'm Joe Stewart. I'm a senior PMM for Marketo Engage.
Awesome. And I'm Nick Billich. I'm a product specialist on the interactive webinar sales team covering the West Coast here at Adobe.
Hi, and my name's Allie. I am an East Coast representative for interactive webinars. A bit of background, I have been with Marketo for the past 6 years and recently moved out of the account manager role into this product specialist role. Really excited to get our customers not only adopting, but expanding their usage of interactive webinars.
Awesome. Thank you, everybody. So yeah, the people that are presenting this information have a litany of wealth and resources and a lot of history from the Adobe side and the Marketo product side as well. Which leads me into the first feature that you can actually test out in real time. So now we are on an interactive webinar. We are using the tool that we're talking about, which is kind of exciting. And we have our poll that's up right now. And it's about what your current webinar provider is. So if you haven't already, we'd love to be able to have just some input as far as like which webinar provider you're currently using. We've gotten some great submissions so far. I'll leave it just for a moment longer before we broadcast the results. But if you haven't already, feel free to go ahead and respond and let us know, yeah, what webinar tool are you currently using? All right, and I think we just go ahead and broadcast the results, show everybody where things are at. So pretty cool. Looks like there's a lot of Zoom webinar folks and some on24 as well. So from that standpoint, I think this will be a very valuable presentation for a number of reasons. Biggest of which being this is a native integration within the platform, and integrations can be tough with those platforms. But there's a lot more to actually be said, and I'll let Joe do that as we pass over the ball to him.
Yep. Thanks, Akande. So I'm excited to talk to everyone today about how you can streamline your virtual events with interactive webinars. Managing webinars is often inefficient, costly, and ineffective, and the webinar management process is disjointed because marketers are forced to use different tools. One tool for marketing automation and another tool for event delivery, and middleware to pass steps are needed between apps, requiring more time, and the marketer still ends up with limited data they can use for personalization and qualification. As you can see, multiple apps and steps are required during the webinar process, from setup to delivery to analysis. So we started as Adobe and Marketo solving for this challenge years ago by allowing for integrations with multiple vendors through our LaunchPoint connections. And we've supported webinars through LaunchPoint for many years. But we wanted to expand it further inside of Marketo Engage because we believe that we could deliver a better all-around experience. So we've reimagined webinars based on our experience in marketing automation and events. And let me tell you what that means. So interactive webinars powered by Adobe Connect is the industry-first marketing automation and webinar technology integrated product. Adobe has deep roots in delivering highly interactive training and webinar events for many years with Adobe Connect. And we fine-tuned it to be at par with top webinar providers. And it's even more powerful because it's native inside your marketing automation platform. None of the other marketing automation providers have a native webinar tool. Only interactive webinars creates a tight, reliable, and insight-rich offering to power an end-to-end event management experience. And interactive webinars is different than other webinar tools because first, it reduces the total cost of ownership. So no need to pay for multiple tools to conduct webinars, pay for middleware to exchange the information between webinar provider and Marketo Engage, or analyze event engagement information obtained from a webinar provider. Second, it streamlines event marketing efforts. Interactive webinars is a built-in webinar creation and management tool that allows you to create, promote, and deliver webinars all in one place, never leaving Marketo Engage. No longer do marketers need to create events in a third-party webinar provider interface, perform multiple authentications, wait for registration and attendance data to be exchanged, and map the webinar data back to Marketo Engage for enhanced nurturing. Thirdly, it can improve webinar performance. So marketers can now gain access to webinar activity data they didn't have access to before, and can use this data directly inside Marketo Engage to build smart lists, personalized messaging, and build nurture campaigns, maximizing their overall return on webinar investment. So as another channel in the Marketo Engage ecosystem, interactive webinars really maximizes your cross-channel strategy in several ways. For example, sending an SMS text message to a customer who registered for your webinar. It can also enhance other Adobe applications. So you can enrich lead and account profiles with engagement data from interactive webinars to provide more insights for better personalization and granular lead scoring. And you can create nurture campaigns from lists created by interactive webinar data to drive more pipeline and lead conversions. You can use webinar data inside of target account management to enhance your overall ABM strategy to engage your target accounts and speed up qualification. And you can personalize web and mobile content based on nurture campaigns that are powered by data from interactive webinar smart lists and fit indicator filters. You can also use webinar activity data from live webinars to flow back into Marketo Sales Insight as an interesting moment to alert sales which leads are hot and likely to convert. So with interactive webinars, customers should expect faster, more effective webinar programs with less effort and lower cost. So you may experience an increase in workflow efficiency. Since all workflows are in a single tool, it allows for more efficient setup, management, and reporting compared to other third-party integrations. An increase in engagement lift. With highly customizable layouts and with many interactive in-session webinar features, marketers can drive more engagement than with competitive platforms. A large reduction in latency of collecting post-webinar activity data. So this will greatly decrease the time it takes for personalized follow-up, and we know just how important it is to follow up quickly with leads. And lastly, you may experience an increase in conversions. Better data can help drive better and faster personalized follow-up and nurturing. And using interactive webinars is incredibly easy. You can set up and launch your webinar program in a matter of minutes. First, build and configure your webinar. As I mentioned before, this is incredibly simple with a simple call to action screen. We will still support our point solutions on the same screen login, but you can also pick interactive webinars. As part of the configuration, you'll be able to schedule your webinar, select your host, and invite them directly within Marketo events. Once your webinar is built, you can move on to designing your webinar. When designing, you can select from pre-created webinar templates, product showcase, thought leadership session, workshop session, and others. And use Adobe Connect's engagement features like polls, documents, and chat pods to build a very engaging experience for your attendees. And of course, as you're delivering your webinar, your attendees are interacting with all those features of your room. All of this data is being collected in your smart list inside of Marketo. After the webinar, you can share out the recording and you can use all this data to help personalize follow-ups. Then, of course, with all this data now directly inside Marketo Engage, you can create nurture campaigns for these new leads and build prospective pipeline. And the best part is interactive webinars is included for all Marketo Engage Select, Prime, and Ultimate customers at no additional cost. And as of June of this year, all customer production instances have been provisioned with interactive webinars. So depending on your package, you'll receive 12 webinars a year, or 1 unlimited room, or 2 unlimited rooms. And as of June this year, you can now purchase additional rooms, capacity, and storage. So Adobe continues to invest in interactive webinars and has made several product enhancements this year. At Summit, we announced Gen AI capabilities coming to on-demand webinars. So, powered by AI Assistant, on-demand webinar attendees will get a quick summary of the webinar that was recorded. They'll also view the recording through an auto-generated video chapters with titles, so they can jump to the sections they're most interested in. It will auto-generate FAQs based on webinar topic and the transcript, further assisting viewers with finding desired information. And conversational Q&A will be made available so attendees can ask questions answered by Gen AI-powered chatbots. So these capabilities are just the first steps in infusing Gen AI into interactive webinars. And you can start using interactive webinars that comes included in your instance today. Even if you use another provider, you can still experiment with interactive webinars before needing to replace your existing solution. So talk to your internal teams about using it for an event. There are many free education and onboarding resources to help you get started. There's product documentation and video tutorials, and we'll send out a link after this event. We'll send out an email with links to all the resources and how you can get started. And you can also sign up for a customer office hours with the product team. And with that, I will pass it to Nick, who will start the demo.
Well, and really quick, I want to highlight something kind of cool. So if you guys are seeing on screen, one of the things that we've already experienced a few of the really cool features of interactive webinars, and I kind of wanted to show this in real time. So, I'm kind of a funny person, at least I think I am. So if I start here, you'll see, voila, we go back to that original layout. Then we go to the layout that we just saw. And then after this, Nick will be able to take out that layout as well. What's really cool about interactive webinars, one, these slide decks that you're seeing are a part of the presentation. He's not doing a screen share. He's not having to reference anything. And we can always navigate from there very easily. And the layouts change from person to person. Last little thing, that Q&A is open in the middle. Feel free to continue asking questions that we might be able to have.
Okay. Can you confirm that you can see my Marketo instance?
Yep.
Amazing. Awesome. Okay, so I'm just going to walk through the same thing that Nick was just doing. I'll build a new program, a new interactive webinar program. Sorry for the redundancy. Make sure it's housed under my name. I'm going to call this, a September product update. That's my upcoming webinar. Program type will be event, and our channel is going to be webinar. When I select webinar, I have the option to choose between my third-party integration or interactive webinar, since I am an interactive webinar user. So let me go ahead and hit next. At this point, I will designate my title that my participants can see. So I'm going to keep it September product update. If I can spell, that'll bother. Okay, perfect. And my duration, again, 30 minutes to 6 hours. I'll keep it at 30 minutes. And this is in September. So let's go ahead and hit create. Now this brings me to the interactive webinars dashboard in Marketo. I just clicked design your webinar and it brought me to this page where I can select either a new interactive webinar room or a previously built room. There are certain scenarios where you may want to use a previously built room, like when you have a recurring webinar or something of the like, where you're delivering some of the same content. But for our demo today, I'm going to go ahead and select the new interactive webinar room, at which point it will prompt me to select either a standard template that we have pre-built for you or an organization template. An organization template are templates created by your org where you can create a template for your teams to reuse the same layouts and pod types for their webinars. I'm going to get into what layouts and pods are in just a moment, but alternatively, you can select one of these pre-built standard templates. We have some really great starter ones to choose from. So each template is composed of layouts to the right that you can toggle through as you present your webinar. And layouts are composed of a grouping of pods of your choosing to help tell the story the way that you want. So pods are these small boxes on the screen and provide ways to deliver content and engage with your audience, and are entirely customizable. So a metaphor I like to use is think of your webinar as a house that you're designing, your layouts as rooms in a house that you can walk through, and then your pods as furniture that you can move around and add or remove. So for example, in this product showcase template that I selected in the intro or beginning that we have labeled as lobby, while people are entering, we may have some static content here like a cover page. We may have a company logo. We may have a poll pod, a chat pod for our attendees to engage in, similar to what you saw when you joined the webinar today. During presentation, we may want to clean that up a bit and have just a slide share, a video, a Q&A, and then during wrap up, we may ask you additional poll questions. We may have a file share, a chat pod. So I'm going to go ahead and use this template and refine our webinar a bit right now, so that you guys can see the customization. When I selected Refine Webinar Now, it will prompt me to either join via the app or the browser. I do want to call out that you do not need the app to use interactive webinars, and neither do your participants. So I'm going to go ahead and continue in the browser to refine the webinar. Entering the room. Okay, now we can see that we are in standby mode over here in the top right. In standby mode, we can have up to 10 hosts or presenters join the webinar prior to the start date. This allows you to collaborate on design and complete dry runs prior to hosting the live event. Okay, let's go ahead and do some customization. Here, we can start dragging and dropping additional components and moving the pods around. So let's say I want to add another poll question, for example, and we'll see that it auto-fills that white space and makes it look really nice. I'm just going to clean it up a little bit. And then let's say I want to modify this poll question to a multiple choice to understand which feature my participants are most excited to talk about today. And then once I open this poll, our participants can start interacting, and we are also capturing this data as interaction or as activity data within Marketo that you can use within your smart lists and campaigns to follow up with your attendees and customers. Let's flip to the presentation piece where we can look at a few different pod types. So here we have our share pod, which is our most custom pod available. We can share our screen, which is what I'm doing with you now on the current webinar. We can also upload our slide deck. As an example, I'm going to go ahead and upload a deck just to show a few other features within here. While that uploads, let's turn our attention to the Q&A pod. By default, only hosts and presenters in interactive webinars can see questions in the Q&A pod, and they can choose to respond privately or publicly. I'm going to go ahead and do, just flip to participant view. And let's say I say, what's the pricing? And when that sends, that is only going to be for me, since I am the participant that sent it, but also all the presenters and hosts can see it, at which point they can assign it to the host or presenter that they want to answer the question. I'm going to assign it to myself. I'm the only host in the room currently. So I'm going to put pricing is on website. And at that point, I can respond privately or publicly, and I'm going to send that to everyone. So now all participants, again, I was the participant that sent it, but if there were others, all participants would be able to see this question and answer. Okay, let's turn our attention back to the share pod. Now that we have our share pod with our slides uploaded, we can click the sidebar and it brings to the presenter view where we have an outline and can, jump around if we have a large deck. We can view our notes. So any notes you have uploaded in PowerPoint will be right here for you to view as you click through. You can also do search. Sometimes, you have a big deck and you want to jump to the key takeaways slide, for example, and then I can jump right there very quickly and easily. Again, this is all entirely customizable. So I just want to share some of the other pod options that we have here. We have a notes pod, so you can take notes live while you are giving your presentation with your participants to view. We also have, a files pod where you can upload documents for your participants to download during the presentation. We have a web link, so you can have web links ready to go that they can click on live during the webinar. Of course, we have the chat, which you saw initially, and then we have a poll pod, Q&A, quiz. And then I want to bring your attention to the engagement dashboard, which is what it's referred to in product, but this is actually our backstage area. The backstage area opens up and we can now see presenter notes, which only your presenters and hosts can see. We have a presenter chat, a private chat. We know that as presenters and hosts, sometimes we need to speak to one another. For example, when we just experienced that technical difficulty, I'm sure the chat was going off as I was trying to figure out how to pull up my incognito window. Then we have our attendees and then our engagement dashboard. Engagement dashboard is going to show the session time, the number of attendees, and then how our participants are engaging with the content within our webinar. So that's a bit about the in-room experience. We can get a bit more custom. We do have custom pods available to our customers on our website, which you can download. It provides some gamification. We have We have, a timer, a stopwatch. There's endless options. I typically would have the web page pulled up for my demonstrations, but I'm kind of going offhand right now. So I'm going to go ahead and jump into the marketing activities area out of our room and show you some of the back end pieces to this. Let me refresh this page. Okay, now that we're back on the webinar control panel, we can begin to configure other parts of the event program itself. We can add co-hosts and presenters to the meeting. So this can be an internal Marketo user. I can see my list of Marketo users here that I can add, or this can be an external user. That doesn't mean external out of your org. That just means external out of Marketo. So you can add anybody outside of Marketo, whether that's within your company or without it. All you have to do is add their first name, last name, and email address, which will generate a unique link for them to join your webinar room. They will gain access to your webinar room to help collaborate on design and complete dry runs, but they will not gain access to your Marketo instance. Something to call out there. Okay, so now we can start to build the other elements around invitations and landing pages, emails that are going to go out, and smart campaigns and programs that are going to invite people and deal with your registrations and automations that are associated with that. So we do recommend that you build an event program that has all the elements of a typical event program or webinar, one that you can clone so that you don't need to rebuild each event. Typically, we call this an event program template. So in that, we will likely have emails like invitation, registration, reminders, follow-ups. We'll have landing pages like the registration and confirmation page. And then, of course, there's smart campaigns, one just to select who we're inviting, and then, several others that are triggered campaigns so that when someone does fill out the registration page, how do we deal with that? What are the steps for that? That will be entirely custom for you depending on the needs you have within your events program. But the great thing about Marketo is that, again, we only need to build this once and then simply go to your template webinar, how I have here, and hit clone, which will then copy all the information, resulting in my only needing to create it once. So, this was September product update. We're going to go with October product update. And hit next. Let's give it a moment to clone. It only takes a few moments. I first have to select my duration, push this out to October, and then we hit clone. Okay, now once this finalizes, we can go in and deploy our next webinar very quickly. Of course, though, once this loads, we will see that our October product update has all of the assets from my original program template, but the emails and other assets may have content from the last webinar in them. So to save you from having to change the assets manually in our tokens, we define our variables that we only need to define one time within this program. Then within these landing pages and emails, we include the tokens so that when you do clone the event, you only have to make changes in one place under the My Tokens to update all of your assets. Let's go ahead and jump into the smart campaigns. I want to make sure we take a look at the new triggers and filters that we have. We can go into any smart campaign and we can use the native triggers and filters that look at the webinar engagement activity to look at who we're selecting for a follow-up campaign. So we do have a folder for both the filter and trigger activities we can look at based on the engagement data from our webinar. So let's go ahead and pull over the filter has attended event. And we have any number of constraints here that you can add to your smart list. Number of polls answered, how they answered, questions that were asked. These are native and pre-built, which is a big differentiator compared to using a third-party vendor. And they are looking at how engaged they were during the event. It's really just a great opportunity for you to follow up with your attendees and then convert them later on. Okay, I know we're coming up on time, so I definitely want to make sure we talk about the analytics dashboard. Let me jump into a completed webinar that we've done. So after your webinar is complete, there's a great dashboard that will let you see some of the engagement metrics around who attended, polls they completed, the activities they did, the files they clicked on. This will let you get an understanding of not only how well attended your webinar was, but how engaged your audience was. Remember, all that activity that your audience did during your event, like participating in Q&A, those are all logged to the person's record, just as a web activity or email click. But I have something really exciting to share with you. So an exciting update to this analytics dashboard. We know our customers want to drill down as much as they can into the analytics. So we have now released the engagement dashboard. So this will be linked right underneath your recording. I actually can't click this because this was a webinar we completed prior to the release of this dashboard. The dashboard was released just within this past week, and I believe I had a window up for it ready to go. Yes, I did. Okay. So in your engagement dashboard, we will have an event summary looking at your registration to attendee conversion rate. We will then also have an engagement summary looking at your engagement over time and how participants were interacting. We'll look at interactions broken down by participants. So you'll be able to see the specific details, email, and responses per interaction. Of course, we'll have the on-demand activity here. And then we have participant activity, looking at engagement levels, low, medium, high. And if you have Marketo Sales Insight, it's going to be pretty similar with the stars and flames. At least I like to think so. And then if you want to see how we rank low, medium, high for engagement, we have a link here for learn more about engagement scoring. And then best of all, we know you want your reporting quickly and easily accessible. So we have a centralized hub to download all of your reports. You can download it into a single zip and you can send to your stakeholders quickly and easily. All right, lastly, I want to make sure we jump to our design studio to talk about a few new updates that were pushed within the last week. So in the design studio, this is where you will manage your organizational templates. You'll manage storage and recordings, and you'll customize your own branding elements like video backgrounds and entry screens. I'll go ahead and quickly enter each of these to show you what that looks like. So within the template manager, you'll be able to create a new organizational template, which we touched on at the beginning of the creation of our webinar. So you could use a pre-built template, or you could use an organizational template. So here you can create a new one, or you can modify an existing one that your organization has created. We can manage rooms, which is going to allow us to manage our storage size. So if we're on the select package, we do have a limit for storage. So we do have to keep an eye on this. Prime and Ultimate does have unlimited storage, so not a concern there. Also, this is where you can modify your recordings. As an example, I am certain GNW may go back and cut out a bit of this recording where we had some downtime. So this is where they'll be able to do so. And then webinar customization. This is where you're going to provide a cohesive branding experience. So you'll be able to upload a background image to the background of your webinar to make it cohesive with your branding, your intermediate screen. So when you enter, exit, and you are in your waiting room, you can upload a background image for your branding. And then same goes for virtual backgrounds. You can add your own custom virtual background. Okay. I ran through that. I'm sure there are questions to be answered, but for now, I am going to stop sharing my screen and pass it back to Akande.
Awesome. No, yeah, that was spot on. And I think overall, you know, there's been a couple of questions that have kind of come through, and as we hit our wrap up, you know what? I've been off camera this whole time. I'll just go ahead and remove this. We don't need to see me at this point. But I think one of the questions has kind of come up has been the different packages or tiers that are available. I don't know if you could speak to that a little bit, Ali.
Yeah, the different packages and tiers that are available. So if all Marketo customers have this today, if you're on the Select, Prime, or Ultimate package. Select, you have up to 12 webinar sessions annually with a 500 capacity in your attendees limit. With a 6 GB storage limit. So that is where I mentioned in the manage rooms piece is where you can look at how much storage you're using per webinar. In the Prime package, you get unlimited number of sessions, unlimited storage, but no concurrency. So that's something to be aware of. You cannot do overlapping or back-to-back webinars. There has to be a 30-minute gap, and your limit on capacity is 1,000 attendees. And then finally, we have the Ultimate package, which is very similar to Prime. It is unlimited sessions, 1,000 attendee cap, unlimited storage, but we do offer concurrency. So you can have up to 2 webinars overlapping at a time. And then, of course, if you need additional sessions, if you do need overlapping, if you need additional storage, we have teams here to help scope that for you and help you with additional information. So that would be myself, and that would be Nick as your interactive webinar product specialist.
Perfect. And just a heads up, everybody, there are 2 new polls as well, if you didn't see those. One question we just like to gauge the audience generally is, have you used interactive webinars yet? And this could be as simple as just creating a program template, messing around with the tool itself, seeing how the connection works, looking how to stylize your own room. And also, when do you plan on using interactive webinars? Naturally, if you're in Marketo Engage and you're using it regularly, I would even recommend, or maybe this wouldn't be a recommendation, but you could even use one event for an internal sort of review. You can actually get up to 10 people in a room without exhausting one of your sessions, which is kind of cool. But yeah, when do you plan on using interactive webinars is that second question. Ali, one other question that came up was from Cliff Biram. So do participants, hosts, and presenters and the audience, do they have to use an app to attend, or can they access it entirely through the web browser? And I think that came up because we ran into our hiccup that essentially looked at not allowing you to have 2 concurrently. But yeah, we'd love to get some insight on that as well.
Yeah, you can absolutely use it entirely through a web browser, which went throughout my demo, when it prompted me to join the room via the app or the browser, I joined through the browser just to showcase that. Our hiccup was I had both my app and a secondary room open at the same time when I needed to open an incognito window. So demoing is a bit of a nuance. This is something you would not run into. But yeah, no, you're good. You can absolutely use it entirely through a browser.
Perfect. And then maybe the last question was, can you store several types of webinar templates? I think I might be able to field at least part of this, because I know there's kind of 2 dynamics, right? One dynamic is from a template standpoint within Marketo Engage. We have program templates, and you can create those and have email assets, landing page assets, smart campaigns, smart lists, all ready to go from a program and template standpoint. But maybe, Ali, you could speak a little bit about the template from a room design standpoint, being able to set those up so they're plug and play, that kind of thing.
Yeah, so I think I read it as like the organizational templates from the webinar room, and you can absolutely store as many organizational templates as you'd like to create. We currently do not have a limit on that. And that can be composed of, whichever, if you want to start with one of our templates like product showcase or thought leadership, or if you want to build it entirely from scratch, you absolutely can. And that can be composed of any number of layouts and pods as you'd wish, along with the content that you desire to be within your webinar.
Awesome. Well, yeah, I think that kind of exhausts our Q&As that we had. If anyone else had a question, feel free to pop it in here. But if no one else had any other questions, I think we're good to wrap up. We appreciate you guys joining on and going through this process with us. I think interactive webinars, if I could just say my final words for the actual session itself, is that it's a powerful tool that could be used in really intuitive ways, much stronger from a feature set than any other webinar tool that I've used. And I think the cherry on top of the whole thing is that it's already included in Marketo Engage. So nothing to stop you from using it except maybe just the time to invest into checking it out. But yeah, thank you so much, everybody, for joining. We appreciate your time today, and we hope you have a great rest of your day.
Thank you. Bye, everyone.
Thanks all. Bye.